Best part of waking up to feel it in your cup.
I'm excited. It smells like milk.
Calm down there.
I have goat milk in my coffee. This one's on a dancer.
Get down with your bad self.
Yes.
You're pleased?
I am. All right, you gotta do a taste test of our new milk.
I'm more of a cow person. I'm gonna say first.
You gotta actually taste it.
It's pretty good. It's good.
It's not as rich as cow's milk.
No, but it doesn't taste like a goat though, so that's good.
No, it tastes very sweet. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm, where I am having milk in my coffee, and I am so happy about that. This morning we're gonna go out and milk my new goats, which we brought home to the farm yesterday. I actually got some footage of unloading them that I'll go ahead and play now for you guys to watch, and then I'll meet you out in the barn. Here they are. We're goat keepers again.
Back at it.
They all just rushed back here.
They know this is the exit.
Welcome home. Welcome home. Come on, stop now. Come on. Let's go. Welcome home. You could have landed a lot of places, but I think this is a pretty good one. Get on in there, girl. All right, let's go get the others. Say hello. Alrighty, let's come in. Hello. Oh, no, I'm gonna stay in here. Hello. Hey. It's a brand new place, huh? It's a brand new place. It's a good place, though. You're gonna love it. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
I don't know if I have my hand over the mic. You're gonna have to speak up.
You're very welcome.
Hold on, I'm gonna. Hi. Hi. Hey, pretty. He's already found a space underneath the feeder.
Oh, is that where he's at?
Uh-huh.
Figure it out.
All right, so let me tell you about my new goats. I found a local guy who has a very, very large Nubian operation. He shows them. He literally had hundreds of goats. He had several, just tons of little goat kids born this year. So obviously all of these does have kidded this year. They're all in milk, and I just purchased them, without their kids. Which means I'll be milking twice a day, which is fine. That's what I was signing up for. The buck was a little bit of an impulse buy, and I'll get a close-up look at him in a moment. He has a little bit of a defect on one of his ears. So with Nubians, their ears are supposed to hang flat, and his kind of flips back a little bit. It's actually something that can be splinted and corrected when they're really small. But once they do that, they usually don't correct, and you can't show them when their ears like that. It's a defect. And actually, all of these goats were being sold because of like very mild defects that keep them from being shown. For this one, she's actually really top notch. This lady right here has a little bit of a lopsided udder. I used to have a goat that was like that. It can happen from a number of reasons, but he said, he showed me, he just tested her for mastitis and all that stuff, and he said there's nothing other than it just being a little off, which makes her not show quality. However, she would be great for a home dairy situation. This little girl over here, she's a really heavy producer with a little bit of an underbite, which, you know, I mean, these are like minor things. I think this is going to be a really great herd for what I'm wanting. So they are Nubians. Sometimes if you look up this breed, they will be called Anglo-Nubians. They are known for their very, very long ears and very vocal personalities. This is a full-size breed, so these does are probably in the range of 90-ish pounds or something like that, I would guess. Maybe a little bit more than that. They're a little bit, I don't know, they're not super big boned. But that is a large breed, and I do not know how they produce, but on good feed, on average, a Nubian can give between a half to a gallon a day. A very high volume Nubian can give over a gallon a day. These were bottle baby goats and have been milked and are heavily handled. So they're very, very friendly, which makes me very excited. Thanks, sweet Maya.
You're very welcome, my love. I'm gonna have Dan write us a song talking about how much I love you. But I love you with goats. Goats is my love language. I don't know. I'm playing around with it.
It's like some girls want flowers, but I'll take Nubians. See, I'm the woman that actually wants flowers and goats. Like,
flowers would have been cheaper.
They're like, flowers? I could take a snack of flowers. Look at them. They already love me. Well, hey, Nubians are your favorite of goats.
Yeah, I think you probably chose that because of my preference.
That is true. Because I was looking at Alpines, but I do know that you have a preference for Nubians, and so that probably weighed in on my choice.
I mean, you could have got whatever you want.
I know. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about why I chose these girls and what I was looking for. I think I cried. I'm going to try not to cry. If you are by chance finding us from this video, or if you haven't been here for very long, I had goats for years. I was very, very partial to them, and they were a very vital part of our homestead. And when we moved to this property, we moved states, and we had kind of cut down our numbers a lot, but we brought some with us. But then we got our dairy cows, and I had kind of a health crisis, and I rehomed my goats, which was the right decision to make during that season. And honestly, the break from caring for them was also good. I mean, it was good for me. But a handful of months ago, I would say like back into summer, I started kind of really talking about it again with Maya, and we decided to chew on it for a little while. And I waited over the winter and knew that this spring we were going to bring goats back on. I didn't want it to be a really big operation. I want it to be manageable for me because this is my project. Jeremiah we're starting to build our house this year. We have lots of other animals. He was not looking for another project that was going to be time consuming, but I wanted it, and they're mine. When I started looking, as we were just discussing, I was really open to multiple different breeds. Now, I did rule out Nigerian dwarves pretty early on. That's the small goats, if you're not familiar. And while they're great and have really great butter fat and can have really fun personalities, I did need something that, if need be, Jeremiah could milk. And when we had Nigerian dwarfs in the past, he really struggled with milking them because he has obviously a much larger hands than I do, and he was not really about that. So we just went ahead and rolled those out. So I knew I was looking at full-size goats. And then considering the different breeds, I would have been fine with La Manchas, with Alpines. Saanens is another one. I did ultimately rule out Saanens and Alpines. Now, Alpines can have pretty decent butter fat. Saanens typically produce a higher quantity of milk, though it is lower butter fat content. And I don't need quantity. I'm not looking for a ton of goat's milk. I'm really just looking for my own consumption. I'll probably make cheese out of it, make some soap. This is for our own personal use. I'm not looking to sell goat's milk or anything like that. So I didn't really need the production of a Saanen. Again, with the Alpines, I think Jeremiah's opinion probably weighed in. And it brought it down to Nubians and La Manchas, which is what I primarily had previously. I would have been fine with either one of those. I had kind of equally looked. But there were some other factors that were playing in that ultimately are what decided. Jeremiah does prefer the Nubians, and so that did weigh into my decision. They're just so curious. I definitely wanted goats that were healthy. That was like my number one thing, is that I did not want animals that were going to be an issue and come with the need of high vet bills, that come with the need of a lot of rehabbing. And with that being the case, I'm looking for a very specific kind of like goat person to buy from. Now, I do not care about registration. These goats are registered. I may end up like continuing on the registration. Realistically, I probably won't, just because I'm really looking for home dairy purposes. The benefit of registration is that by keeping up with that, my goat kids, when I go to sell them, are going to be worth more. But the reason I ultimately end up kind of looking for registered goats, it's not always the case, but typically people who are registering and specifically showing goats are also going to be disease testing. So there are some diseases that goats can have, particularly like CAE is a really big one, that once they have it, they always have it. And it can be highly contagious and spread to other goats. You can avoid spreading it, but it's just difficult. I wanted to make absolutely sure I wasn't bringing any diseases on. Now I plan on this being a relatively closed herd. What that means is I got these 3 does. I went ahead and got this buckling now, so I have a breeding option. He's not related. I don't want to risk bringing disease on, or one of those really big diseases, by later having to look for a buck and just having to go buy one from somebody who can't prove that they're taking care of their animals. So for me, when I talk to a person that is showing goats, though I don't want to show goats, though I'm not concerned if they have a slightly lopsided udder or an underbite or anything that may be like counted against them in the show ring. When a person is breeding for really high quality, they're also maintaining the overall health of their animals, which that was really my priority. Another thing is milk production. Now, in breeding, the way this is ranked, it's called a goat is given milk stars, and basically they're assessed on their production, and when you look at a goat's pedigree, it'll show if there are milk stars, and it's just basically showing that you have bloodlines that are bred for high milk production. And that's a good thing. Like, obviously, if we're milking our goats at home, we want them to be good producers. But there is also the reality that for a home dairy situation, you don't necessarily need the utmost top producers. And with very high producing goats, you do have to be really mindful with body condition and nutrition and different things like that. So that wasn't necessarily something that I was sold on having to have. And just talking to the man that I got these from, they are good producers. Namely, this one right here, she's a very, very high producing goat. So, we'll keep an eye on her body to make sure we're keeping her in good shape. And he did say that these two are pretty good producers also. They're not as high as her. Some things that I look for goat shopping is like just in talking to a person, seeing how they're caring for them. I'm listening to language. You can find really great animals from people who are not showing and who are not doing things like that. But it's a little bit of a red flag for me when an animal listing is just like nanny goats. That's what they're calling them, is nanny goats. You can call them that. You can call a doe a nanny goat. That's fine. But whenever I'm like, hey, what breed are they? How old are they? When did they last kid? When I start asking questions like that, if I'm not getting really cohesive answers, it's not a guarantee that that animal is not a quality animal. It's just if I can't get cohesive answers to simple questions like that, it's probably not the animal I'm looking for. Cheap animals are easy to come by. And they can be a blessing in disguise. You can find a diamond in the rough. You can find cheap animals that can meet your needs. And maybe you end up with a goat that still gives you milk and that meets your needs. That can be okay. But when I'm trying to keep my numbers small, I want the most efficiency. And I know I don't have a ton of time to spend like rehabbing animals that have issues. So I want to invest on the front end and get the best animals that I can for my money, because I feel like that is ultimately going to pay out as being less expensive in the long run. So another thing you'll note with these does, they don't have any horns. Anybody who is showing their does and has them registered in the ADGA and is taking them to shows, they're going to be dehorned, because you cannot show goats with horns. I've had both horned goats and dehorned and even polled. And it is my preference to keep goats without horns. That's because I have children around them regularly. And those horns are oftentimes at eye level for children. And a lot of times what animals do when they are like saying, get out of my personal space, is they fling their head. And I just don't want that risk. There are benefits keeping their horns on. It helps with temperature regulation. It's obviously the more natural route. But in the case of having a few domestic animals in a farm situation that I'm going to be handling a whole lot, I prefer to go without horns. Again, it also, if you are breeding and registering your animals, it makes them easier to sell for them to be dehorned. So we just typically like to stick with that route. We have had goats with horns. They do get their heads stuck more frequently. So for me, it's just more of a safety issue for the humans and the animals. My preference. Question I asked was age. There are benefits to both sides of this. These does are 4 years old. The oldest one is, hold on, he told me this. The white one is the older one. She's 5. That's fine. Obviously, if you get a younger animal, you are going to get more time out of her. You're going to get more kidding seasons, therefore you're going to get more return on her. The benefit of animals that are a little bit older is they've been through multiple kidding seasons, obviously successfully, so we can have some confidence in their capacity to have kids. They have been milked multiple times, which breaking in first fresheners and training them to the milk stand can be a violent affair. They are strong animals, and I've sported a black eye from a goat before. It's not always like that. It can be fine. That was a rare instance of a goat that was further along in her breeding than I was told. And so when I got her, I had not had time to warm her up to the milk stanchion when she kidded. And so she'd never been handled, and I was having to teach her how to be milked. So these girls are experienced though, which is nice. It's going to make it a much more enjoyable time for me. And they're also really friendly because they've been very handled. Once goats have been milked, even for just like a season, they end up being way, way more friendly and personable just because they're used to being handled by people. Mm-hmm. But this helps that they were bottle babies, because then they're just extra sweet and friendly. As far as like too old, I would probably shy away from any goats that are older than like 6 or 7, unless they were really affordable. Like if they were a real bargain. If they're in good shape, goats can have kids like longer than that. So you could still get some seasons out of them, but you know, they're definitely out of their prime. So I wouldn't necessarily want to pay like top dollar for them. When I was shopping for goats, and I'm talking, I looked all the way from like Craigslist ads and marketplace ads to looking at breeders from here all the way up to like Michigan. I was looking all over and weighing out obviously how much I was willing to invest, how much time it would take to like drive far off to pick up goats, how they would adjust to the temperature changes. I was seeing prices anywhere between like $250 a doe for a grown doe. A lot of times that was not even in milk or even bred. A lot of times those had horns. They were coming from places that they were not registered, that I was feeling a little bit uneasy about them potentially having diseases. Up to, on average, for does like these, $400 to $500. That's how much these were. These are in milk, and for a registered animal that is very healthy in milk, that I felt like was a pretty reasonable price compared to what I was looking at. And then upwards to like $1,000 an animal, but that was for really, really high quality, show-worthy animals with things like milk stars, which for the average homesteader that's looking for dairy goats, that's really unnecessary. You really probably wouldn't get your return from them if you were not going to use them in breeding programs to make back your money on kids. And with these girls, they, like with their breeding and stuff like that, they probably could cost a good, like upwards of $600 had they not had these like minor defects, like lopsided udder here. Oh, hey, cutie. So this guy's little defect is, see his ear and how it kind of flips over? The reason I went ahead and got him was that the farmer was prepared. He gave them to me for real cheap as I was buying these other ones. And I wasn't really needing a buck right now. Obviously, these all just kidded here within the last couple months or started in December. So we're not going to breed back until like fall with them. But as I mentioned, like when I'm paying extra to guarantee that I'm getting disease-free goats, I don't want to wait till the fall and then have to bring a buck in and go through this process all over again. So the fact that I was able to buy this little buckling, I now know that I have an option for breeding in the fall. My friend Amanda Palladini is up in Tennessee, and she has some of my old goats, and I am planning on still trying to get a buckling from her this year, but her goats haven't kidded yet, so I don't know what she's going to have. And if I get a buckling from her, he'll just serve as this dude's friend. He's going to have a buddy. So I'm likely just going to get whatever it is that Amanda has, and I'll leave them both intact so we have breeding options. And for the time being, he can stay in here with the does or in their yard once it's done. And that works because I don't have a buck pen built yet. We don't even have the doe pen built yet. As far as like looks, I know a lot of people put a lot of like emphasis in that when they're looking for animals like goats because they can be so varied. I mean, Nubians are some of the most like diverse looking goats. A lot of times, like for instance, you have like Oberhasleys and they all more or less look the same. And then Alpines can come in different colors, but they all have kind of similar patterns. They can be somewhat spotted. La Manchas can have a lot of variety, and so can Nigerian Dwarves. But Nubians, there are all different colors and patterns and spots. I think these girls are beautiful. I'm really excited that they are very distinctly different. I was kind of hoping for that just so I could like very clearly tell them apart and be able to show them on videos. But that was lower on my priority list because you can always like diversify and try to bring in genetics. Like if I really wanted to like breed for like a future generation of really flashy does, all I have to do is get a really flashy buck. But I really wasn't concerned about that. Their health was my number one priority. Hey, cutie. Mostly, I just want to see, like, I want to buy animals from people who care about their animals because then I don't have to be so concerned. She's got the doofiest little teeth that stick out. All right, I've had a list of goat names on my phone for several months waiting for them to come here, which today the farmer did tell me. He's like, feel free to rename them. He's like, they don't know their names. He had a whole lot of goats and they didn't know their names. So this is Virginia, aka Virgie. This is Claire. Hey, Claire. And over here we have Miss Winnie. Hey there. Virginia, Claire, and Winnie. And the little guy, we're calling him Wit. Oh, and he's a sweetie. He's a bottle baby, so he's definitely lovey. They're all situated in the barn. We have them in here with hay, water, fresh bedding. This is where they're going to stay for the entirety of this week while we build the goat pen and fence in barn over there. And I am about to run to the store to get a couple of things for them. Interesting, you know, when you're shopping for animals, I like it when I can have a word of mouth situation where I can meet somebody and like buy animals kind of within having a relationship with the person that they come from. That's obviously not always the case, but if that is ever an option, I definitely like that. And I was really thankful to meet this farmer today. I kept his information, and he, you know, told me to reach out if I ever need anything or need to know anything. And then also it's nice to know that I have a source for future goats, or if I ever did need a buck or something like that, I've got somebody, you know, 40 minutes away from my house that's very knowledgeable and experienced. Ben, are you excited? You tiptoeing in cleats through this muddy yard makes me think of a Pirates of the Caribbean run. You look like Captain Jack Sparrow.
I haven't seen the movie.
You haven't seen that movie? Yeah. Good morning. Christmas Carol's looking very red and brindly lately. Lead the way, sir. All right, Ben, so we don't have a stanchion, so we're kind of making do. We got to go get the feed, the stuff to wash, and then once I milk one of the goats, I'll get the milk in the bottle that you can give to the baby, okay?
Alright.
All right, that's good. Here,
That's great lighting. Is it recording?
There, can you close the gate?
Yes. I could do that very easily. Milk is like the best thing that's ever happened to me.
What did you say? Did you say milk is the best thing that's ever happened to you?
Yeah.
I thought you were so enthusiastic about it.
And I think this is the best thing that's ever happened to him too. He loves it. Avocado.
So, somehow I ended up with these unicorn goats that will stand to be milked without a stanchion. So, I knew that it was kind of a risk that we were taking, bringing these goats home, thinking that we may have to kind of like finagle a situation that makes milking them possible. And last night I came out here like raring for a fight. Like I was expecting like this is gonna be hard. You know, we may have to bodily hold them to milk them out, because obviously you gotta milk them out or else there's risk of infection. And Maya came out with me and they were perfect angels. Like I cried. I was just like, I cannot believe this. And as evidenced by this morning, we're still working some things out. It will be a lot easier once I have like a way to create a flow and a system. But as of right now, the fact that they'll stand there and let me milk them, even like when they're not eating, is insane to me. In all the best ways. Good, insane. How much milk do we get?
We got 3 quarts and we live about 4 quarts, but we have to feed the baby.
That's right. So we've had about a gallon between the 3 of them, which is also really good. One is a really higher producer. One is producing significantly less, but she just recently kidded, so her milk still may come in more, but really good production. One of my reasons for going ahead and getting the bottle baby was the fact that I knew we were going to have a lot of milk, so I wanted to go ahead and put it to productive use. Straighten this.
That's a lot of milk, Mom.
It is a lot of milk.
What's up?
Yeah, that one works. We need to write goat on the top of it.
Sharpie.
Well, I don't have a Sharpie out here.
That's fine. We can carry it. Yeah.
Well, we have to put the date on it.
Just have Ben carry it inside. We'll put it in the back fridge.
Thanks for the milk, ladies. Thank you. Winnie. Virgie. A sweet Claire. See you, Wit. It's very good to have Goaty girls back on the farm again. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this morning. God bless you. Until next time.